Good evening, my fanciful carp catchers. I thought I'd do a little video basically based around books. There's not really much going on at the moment with lockdown and all the rest of the rubbish that's occurring. So I thought I'd do something, and obviously with it coming up to Christmas, someone might be looking at getting a present or 2 or 10. So I thought I'd get a little video out there, a little bit of advice on books, what to go for, and I hope it helps someone. First off, I'll apologise, I have a little feck giblet running around, a little hairy thing. It's not mine, it's my missus' son's rat, I think is the best description. Little fur ball of God knows what. It's actually about half the size when you shave it, which I'm going to do just to annoy it. So yeah, apologise if you hear him scampering around or yapping at something. He's one of the most annoying dogs I've ever known, and apparently I'm not allowed to strangle it. Right, on to the books. These are in no particular order. Pretty much as they came out. Possibly the top 6 or 7, but the first 3 or 4, whatever, are just on random, and they've got some relevance to carp fishing, basically, of modern day carp fishing, even though a lot of them are quite old. It'll hopefully give someone an idea of what they're looking at if they see it for sale and fancy it. I'll start at the top of the range. Waiting for Waddle by Phil Thompson. Now this book you can get old second hand. It's about 450 quid for a reasonable copy. It was a short run on the press, so the price rocketed. It's basically Phil Thompson's time on Raisbury and Horton. It's a nice story. It's a nice story. It's reasonably well written. I wouldn't say it's a classic in any way, manner or form, but it's a nice little book. Why is it relevant in today's carp fishing? Knowing that this was back when Horton first opened as a syndicate. Go away, you little fuck giblet. Go on, stop, piss off. This is going to be a long night. Yeah, when Horton first opened as a syndicate, Phil was one of the guys on there with Dave Lane and so on and so forth. And you'll hear in Dave Lane's book, Obsession with Carp, when he explains about Phil and his extremely long 4-inch long hair rigs, that he was catching all the carp on, and he was catching quite a bit more than anyone else at the time. That's a thing that I've been doing since I started carp fishing. I always fish hair rigs pretty much exclusively. It's a rarity that I'll bother putting a pop-up out. It's a rarity that I'll bother with a super duper swingy, springy hook rig or anything like that. I'm not interested. Carp fishing isn't rocket science, I'm afraid, and that's why I think Phil's book is completely relevant today. He was catching carp out of Horton, like I say, that were apparently highly intelligent, and he moved on to Raisbury, which says it isn't a fluke, and caught carp out of there as well. So yeah, Waiting for Waddle, Phil Thompson, very good book, and as I say, even for its simplicity, that's what makes it relevant today, because you do not have to go ultra riggy to catch these carp, which are supposedly riggy carp. It's all tosh, basically. So that's the first one on the list. Second one, also going back a long way, this was sort of in 1983, I believe this book came out, somewhere around there. Let's see if I can find an original stamp on here. Oh, 81. So yeah, it first came out in 81. Thought it was a bit older than that. And basically through the 80s was classed as the Bible. Carp Fever, Kevin Maddox. Every piece of relevant information at the time is in this book. Yes, it's 40 years old, but there's very little in there that I wouldn't use today, and I would catch carp. Again, it's the myth of ultra techie, which you don't need. That is as relevant now as it's ever been. So yeah, some of the bits and bobs in there may well be out of date, methods and things that we are now thinking of as death rigs, things like that. But back in the day, the theory's there, it's just changing it to suit it to modern standards, if you like. Also, you've got to understand that back in the day, we used to use hook links that were a lot softer breaking strains than the main line. So the idea was your hook link was your weakest link. So even a death rig of the day wasn't really a death rig at all. So yeah, that's as relevant now as it's ever been. Carp Fever, Kevin Maddox. Great read. Don't read it as if you want to read a story. If you want to read a story, get for something else. Go for something else completely. That will bore you witless. Yeah, it's all technical. It's all information. If you want to read a story, don't get this book. If you want to read and learn, get this book. Learn it. Okay. Well worth it. Right, next one is Carp Life by Mike Wilmot. Good story, lots of techie stuff. Obviously growing up or learning this trade on Ashley, that was never going to be an easy water to fish. So you get a very technical mind that Mike has, not only on the rigs but on bait as well. A great book for learning from. Also, as I say, good story, well worth reading. The next one is pretty much it's just a book that really filled my dreams in the early days. Raisbury. This is Raisbury Chronicles. It's basically a look back at a lot of the famous anglers that fished on there, how they got on, the tales and the stuff they got up to while on the water. Another good read. Lots of stories, not so much technical information on there, but certainly enough to keep you riveted all the way through. There are another couple of books in this series, Savay and Horton as well, also well worth a read. But yeah, Raisbury Chronicles, definitely a book well worth reading, especially if you're into the history of fishing. Next one, very good read, Nigel Sharp, Living the Dream. This is an angler that I've somehow managed to bypass. I seemed to go on to Yateley when he'd gone over the other side of Yateley and moved off again just as he was coming back again. But yeah, he's a very good angler. This is about his time really on oh, for God's sakes, Burfield. Getting old mate, senile dementia. His time on Burfield, another cracking water, same as Raisbury. Very good story. There's plenty of chapters in there with technical information and a lot of atmospheric writing about the lake in itself. And you get to learn a lot about his fishing and how he does it. So it's another very good read. Right, the next book is one that's close to my heart. Pete Springate, Carp Side of the Moon. This was the first time I saw him write about Broadwater. Pete's always been a bit of a hero of mine, but he writes about Broadwater in here for the first time I'd ever seen anyone write about it, by which time I was already on there. I managed to spend sort of 10 years on there, I did. But he spent most of his time on there after Bream, which I'll be perfectly honest with you, when I knew he was on there, I didn't accept he was on after Bream. That's just my head working. If Pete Springate's on there, there's got to be something special in there, which kept me going. So yeah, another good book, great story writer again, and he's certainly caught some big kippers and some lovely fish in his time. Next one, we're really getting into the special ones now. In Pursuit of the Largest, young Terry. What can you say about him and his fishing? It is quite phenomenal. I'm not sure anyone's sort of up there with him as far as big carp go, and In Pursuit of the Largest is probably one of the best descriptive books of targeting fish that I've read. And Terry tells it in such a nice, easy to read way. So yeah, In Pursuit of the Largest, everyone knows about it, but it's still a bloody good read even now. Oh, right, next one. This is what would you call him? The modfather of carp fishing, or the rodfather of carp fishing, Mr. Rod Hutchinson. Carp Now and Then. This was done originally 8 years after he'd written his first book, Carp, and the idea behind it is looking at the information that he'd got in the first book and adapting it to how things have moved forward in the 8 years intervening. A great book, full of information, the odd tale in there as well. Very good book, well worth a read. I'd get hold of it if I were you. And let's be honest, he is pretty much the godfather of carp fishing, modern day carp fishing now. So yeah, well worth a read. What can I say about this next book? Probably my second favourite book of all time for carp fishing. Mr. Lane. I'm not really sure what I can say about this man's fishing. He does seem to bag some lumps, doesn't he? But yeah, Obsession with Carp by Dave Lane, brilliant read. A bit of information in there as well, you know, technical information. If it weren't for the carp rods, I'm sure it would have been called One Man and His Dog. But yeah, another bloody good read. And even though it's got to be 20 years old this now, isn't it? Or even older, I don't know. Let's have a look, see when it was made. First published 98, so 22 years old. So even though that's 22 years old, still as relevant now, and still as good a story and as good a read. I'd read that quite happily over and over and over again. Brilliant book, great angler. What can you say? Obsession with Carp, Dave Lane. Now, probably, well, no, not probably, my favourite book of all time for carp fishing. Again, we're back to Mr. Hutchinson, The Carp Strikes Back. His storytelling in this is absolutely brilliant. It's his time on Savvy, obviously, and the tales he goes into. It's just brilliant. You've got to read chapters in here, ones that just stick out in their head. Alternative theories and lunacy, for instance. Even his introduction is funny. His sense of humour just shines through completely in that book. Well worth a read. Very relevant. There's a bit of technical information in there, as there is with Dave Lane's book. But it's not overdone, and he intersperses it with some great humour. Worth every penny. Get hold of it, have a read, enjoy it. This is one to enjoy. Yeah. Okay guys, that's my first little book club for you. If you want another one, running out of books. No, if you want another one, let me know and I'll do something else, something similar. But hopefully that'll give someone an idea of what they want for Christmas, and maybe coerce someone into buying it for them. I don't know, a bit of blackmail or something, and see how you get on. Have a good Christmas. That's my only book club. Don't ask again really, I was joking. See you later.